Hopefully see you again soon. We now move on, and a stricter phase of the US immigration crackdown is being prepared for 2026, with plans confirmed for expanded workplace raids and a massive funding boost. An additional $170 billion has been approved for immigration enforcement agencies, allowing thousands of new officers to be hired, new detention centres to be opened, and deportation operations to be widened. The move is being made despite declining public approval of the president's immigration policy and rising concern over aggressive enforcement tactics in major cities. With midterm elections approaching, concern is growing among voters and local leaders as questions are raised about how expanding workplace enforcement could affect businesses. Joining us now is Major General Dr. Rajan Kochhar, an international relations and a defence expert, to join us in this discussion. Dr. Kochhar, thank you very much for joining us. Of course, Donald Trump campaigned on the largest deportation in US history. However, we've seen ICE and their actions and methodology of how they're going about things turn very extreme in some circumstances. Of course, we see masked agents overtake the streets of cities and sometimes grabbing what they allege as immigrants on their way to work, just going about their daily lives and then being shipped off to the likes of El Salvador or imprisoned inside the United States without due process. However, we're 1 year into this now, and we're seeing a growing disapproval among American voters, with now 50% of Trump's 50% of people disagreeing with Donald Trump's approach to immigration, and 61% of all Americans disagreeing to the way that it's being done, and saying that immigrants deserve a record of due process. With midterm elections coming up at the end of next year, how do you think an increase in this immigration crackdown of Donald Trump is going to affect the Republicans' hold on the branches of power in the United States?
Thank you, Thomas. It's very interesting because President Trump, in his election manifesto, when he stood for elections, and he had broadly mentioned that he would have a crackdown on the illegal immigration, and so that has not really taken off in the manner he wanted it to accomplish. And with the midterm and the primaries also coming up next year, and his approval ratings on immigration has dropped from 50% to 41%. So I think it's a notable erosion, and especially among his core constituencies. See, if you get an approval rating below, or you actually come down in your approval rating in your non-core constituencies, that can be understood. But in case it is from the core constituencies, I think it is a cause of concern. There have been human rights, legal, and economic concerns as far as his immigration policy is concerned, because he has used his federal agencies to crack down on people, and at times it has been found that they were not immigrants only. So possibly the personal scores also being settled in this manner, and Miami is one state which has a large electoral immigration, and there is a backlash in this state. So I think he also realizes that there is a time now, and it is important for him to carry out damage control, and we call it actual damage control, because there has been a civil liberty debate going on in America, and these mass federal agents, they have used tear gas and detentions of individuals without any criminal record. So I think the human rights concern are there. That a lot of people have gone to the court also, which I think is not impacting his image very well. And as you rightly mentioned, the business is suffering. The economic concerns are also happening now in America, and especially sectors which are dependent on the immigrant labor, potentially affecting the inflation, and broader economic conditions are getting impacted. So I think a reframing of the policy, he is wanting now to change the strategy by a budget allocation
Yes.
so that he can target the employers, he can target the job sites who are known to hire the undocumented workers. So this possibly, I think, is going to increase detentions and deportations because whenever you want to enforce a law, and this has been my experience also in following the various countries, including India, whenever we want to enforce a policy, we have to hit the grassroots because superficially you cannot enforce. You may be able to enforce for a short period of time, but possibly if you want to have a long term effect, you have to get onto the grassroots because we also saw how
Yes.
people are being sent to Canada, and of course, they had to then resort to hiding themselves and smuggling themselves into Canada in spite of paying the agents lakhs and lakhs of rupees. So I think this is a genuine concern. My last point is that see, Donald Trump is unfortunately failing on most fronts. His peace accord in Gaza, I just saw your program just now on Gaza, it's actually failing because whosoever you violates the ceasefire, it's the failure of the ceasefire ultimately. And what has happened in Vietnam is Thailand and Cambodia,
Yeah.
that war which has escalated into a very large proportion. It is a total failure of Trump's foreign policy. So I think he needs to take on, apart from this immigration, I want to highlight here, there are many more areas where the course correction is required by Trump, and if he doesn't do that, he is going to face a problem next year when the midterm elections take place, when the primaries take place.
Dr. Kochar, stay with us as we move on to some other updates. And Rush Hour director Brett Ratner